All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Graham. Hi, Russell. Thank you for joining us this evening.
How are you?
Yeah, thank you. The topic for this evening, so we're hoping to have a discussion for the coming 1 hour-ish, give or take, where we're talking about how we can leverage accessibility in the workplace, because I think it's something in this day and age, in this modern day, it shouldn't be a feature. It shouldn't still be something we're thinking about to add to the mix. It's a mindset. It's a mindset shift. It should be how we think when we think about accessibility, or how to embed it in the system. So what I'm hoping to do is to start with some hard conversations or hard questions that people go, but what does it mean? Like, why are we even saying leveraging accessibility? It means we are recognizing that there is something missing that could be taken advantage of in a way. But why does it have to be taken advantage of? Why are we labeling something like that? And you find people also then think, oh, because we're talking of accessibility, it automatically means we're referring to people with disabilities. But actually, that's not true. Because accessibility it's a basic human right for everybody. The quality of accessing something, the ease to obtain or reach is needed by anyone. So where with people with disabilities or people who probably are mostly discriminated against, it becomes a bigger issue, becomes a bigger topic, because it's right in people's faces. Like, they have to deal with this every day of their life. Whereas to someone, they might not think of it as an issue because they don't have to deal with it every day. They just make do with it. So first question that I have that I'm going to throw in the group was around the system that we find ourselves in. So whether it's the educational system, how it shapes or molds youth and prepare them for work. Let's just talk a little bit about that. I'll give an example. So I met up with these few ladies that now are doing their own businesses, because they said there's no way I would have gone to work for someone, because they met with so many issues around that. So they decided, no, I would rather go and work for myself. And the issue that they found at school was they were immediately pigeonholed. So when someone realized that this person was struggling with this area, they said, oh, they need ed support. So immediately, instead of having just mainstream, so part of their school had the ed support center. So they were immediately taken to that. And then the placements, the work placement they were having was slightly different. They were now needing more support. They were told that they needed to have a support worker with them. Even for one of them said, I don't think I needed one, but because they felt I needed extra support, I was given one. And I felt I didn't have a right to say anything. So fast forward, when they started working, they felt they came across the same issues where people assumed that they needed support, even though they've said nothing. So I'll give it to you, fellas, to, just air out what you think.
What I might do is I might just, it's always been nice just to chat with you guys a little bit before the session started. And Russ, I would agree completely with what yourself sort of said, but for the guys who weren't privy to that conversation, what we were talking about is limiting beliefs and people who are in your life as influencers, whether it's a teacher, family unit, friendship circles. If they believe that you can only do so much, sometimes that's what we'll swallow, and that's all we'll ever amount to. As an educator, both in a physical sense, but also a technical sense, like in a workplace, I try and challenge my team in every capacity, regardless of. I try not to limit them, and I want them to swing for the rafters. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you teach someone if I look at a personal example on a martial arts floor, as a martial arts instructor, I've had many kids come through that have been labeled with every letter after their name where they shouldn't be able to do it. I'm like, drop the letter, drop the stigma, get out there and give it a go. And we'll figure out what you can and can't do. And when you can't do it, then we'll figure out a way how you can do it.
Exactly.
There's two things here, and I share this to the guys. As soon as you put the words can't in your vocab, your brain stops looking for solutions. If you can go, how can I? Well, then you start to work on a way to do this. And as an employer, I would challenge anyone out there to go, well, I can't employ someone with special needs or a disability. That's a load of BS. I would go, well, how can I? How can I find a spot for them? Because I know, and I'm going to probably touch a nerve with many employers nowadays, is the world has changed with the younger generation where they're all about entitlement. They're all about getting what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and not doing the work for it. Whereas if you give someone a chance, if someone is generally overlooked because of their presumed or assumed, limitations, if you give them a chance, they will go to bat and then some. So I like to see, and I love to be pleasantly surprised by telling someone that they can do a hell of a lot more than what they think they can, and seeing the smile on their face when they achieve even close to that, and then push the limits. So, I would definitely say that sadly, it is a culmination of a system. Yes, it's some roadblocks, but it comes down to the individual to go, what? I know that Rush, you said something before and it made me smile because, we've all had things in our life on why we shouldn't succeed. But for me, it was like challenge accepted. Bring it on. Come on. You tell me I can't. I'm like,
I'll show you.
Red flag to a bull type thing. So it's also a willingness to want to support that. And that's unfortunately not as common anymore, or not as common at the moment. People are looking for the easy wins. Therefore, anytime they bring on someone with learning disabilities or perceived challenges, it takes a little bit of time to get the ball rolling. But once you get them going, man, the rest is easy, So I think, Liz, we've just got to continue to push the status quo. We've got to continue to remove the limiting beliefs. And I think that's a big factor in what it is. And then the systems will start to change. That's just the way it goes. But it starts with the individual more than anything.
Yeah, and I think it's like with Russell, I'll just give you a bit, but with other students, I guess, with other individuals, where maybe that mindset is not yet there, and they actually do need the support of teachers, people that they're spending all their time around to give them that light, to say, no, you can do it, you can do it. But if then they're the ones that are saying, no, you need a lot of support, then it's a bit, But Russell, go on.
I think it's interesting because we spoke about this before the recording, and for people who don't know, let's just recap what the conversation was. So for me personally, I could not read. I could not, by the time I was graduating year 7, I couldn't do my 2 timetables. I couldn't do anything else. And it's partly because I was in and out of hospital in my younger years. I was also moving from foster home to foster home. So I have disabilities. I've had 2 heart operations, curved spine, fused neck, slip disc. I have 4 fingers on my left hand. And for me, because of all the surgeries, I missed out on a lot of schooling. So in high school, basically, the English teacher, she would pick on me, I guess you would say, where she would point at me and make me read. And I felt like it was more me reading in the classroom than anyone else. But yes, I was upset. Yes, I felt like I was being bullied. Yes, I felt life was not fair at the time. And I can look back I'm 34 now. I can look back on it and go, actually, if that teacher didn't do what they did, I wouldn't have the skills I have today. And the thing that you said, support, it's okay to have support. And that's the thing. Like, I think the bigger question here is the person who's saying, I didn't think I needed the support. Well, is that you being defensive about needing this help? Or is that because you're like, for me, I've had jobs. I've worked for TeleChoice. I've worked for a bunch of other companies. I've been an IT manager, all that kind of stuff. And for me, it was about, I didn't like the dominant kind of boss figure. And I think that is the bigger issue. because you think that you're always getting talked down to. But that's a mental thing. That is not necessarily a disability. It is that you don't like authoritative figures telling you what to do. You don't like following instructions.
Yeah.
That is a bigger problem than you not asking for the support, because I find like we have some talented people with disability that work here, and one of them has autism, and he doesn't really like to ask for help. He likes to do it himself. And then when I have to correct that person, it's okay, well, would you like me to show you? And it's like, I have to be the one asking him, would you like me to show you, before he wants the help? And I'm like going, but that's part of my strategy as well, is because I don't want people to think that I'm bossing them around. I want them to come to, ideally, I would like them to come to me and say, Russell, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? There's no shame in asking for help and support. I remember when I went to the gym, talking about what Graham said, which is I can't. I joined the gym and I was like, I can't do this. I can't lift the bell weight. I can't lift, like, my arms are different lengths. So the pull bar, I just can't do it. And the bodybuilder gym owner of the gym came up to me and said, okay, I want you to walk out, come back in when you want to forget the word can't. And I go, what? And he's like, yeah, get out of here. So I literally got marched downstairs, came back, turned around, and he's like, look, you can do it. We're here to support you. You just have to be willing to take the support. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a go. And we had to adapt. We had to use some tools like straps and all that kind of stuff. But if you are ashamed to ask for help, or you're ashamed to accept the support that is needed to grow as a human being, that actually, to me personally, that speaks to your character. That speaks to who you are. That speaks to your
way
self-worth.
Beyond just
that's not about accessibility.
And I think with that as well, there is like, you have to meet halfway, isn't it? And I call that interdependence, because as human beings, we do depend on one another. And where it becomes dependency, which is unhealthy, is where you think you're always going to need help. And again, it's a mind thing, where someone might go, because we do this quite a lot, like working as an occupational therapist, we're always talking about independence. How can I help you be independent? How can I make sure you can do this on your own? You know? So it's actually a bit like contradicting, because at 1 minute, you're like, I want you to do this all by yourself, and I want you to show them that you can do it. And then at the same time, I'm like, you should be able to accept help. You should be able to know when to need help. So I use the word interdependence a lot. I've stopped using independence because it doesn't make sense. Because I think as human beings, we all need help anyway. And when you recognize that we work together, we make it better through working together and asking for the right support, you can win in anything.
What's interesting too, guys, as you're talking, I sit here smiling as a business owner with a range of staff of many ages and come from very, very different backgrounds, is the willingness for me as an employer to upskill myself so that I'm able to embrace and empower my workplace, not just be a dictatorship and go, well, that's how it was, that's how it's going to be, because the world is changing. And talk about the boomers versus Gen Y, Gen X, millennials, all the rest. We all have a slightly different way of learning. Like, I'm 42, and how I understand my work ethic may be different to a 20-year-old. But it's important for me to understand how they receive. And this is what's really interesting. I say to my guys, it's not what comes out of your mouth, it's how it's received. And one of the things I do is, as an employer, I need to understand your metrics of measurement. And what I mean by that is, do you like gratitude through public praise? Do you like it through reward of time? Do you like a financial?
Yes, understanding that. Crucial.
How do you need support and help? Is it something that's done in this fashion? Do I just interject? Do I review you? You know what I mean? Like, it takes two to tango here. And I also joke around it being in a sense of, like, my beautiful wife, over the many, many years we've been together, it's taken me a lifetime to figure out how to work her out. And it's never even going to ever be there. So what I mean by that is it's a non-stop process of communication. And that's communication on both ends, both me to ask and to put forward, and also for them to feel like they've got the trust to go, you know what, hey, I love how you're approaching this, but this is probably a little bit more impactful for me. Ross, what you were saying there before is pride. You know, being autistic and someone who's trying their damn best, they don't want to let you down. So therefore, they're not going to ask for help. So it's not that you're asking for help, mate, but I want to see if I can help you to make it better. You're doing good, but let's see if we can get it to great. Let's get it to be outstanding. Let me help you to do that. So I think that's that language and that willingness. But unfortunately, it's not as commonplace for employers to want to embrace to level up. People are just going, well, you work for me. Here's the product. This is the job.
Yeah, this is your job. Get it done. Get it done.
That's the thing. Like, as a business owner myself, like, and a startup business, like, yes, we're 3 years old, but look, I wish where we are today was 10 times what we are. But that's a different conversation. For us, it's like, I want to see people get challenged. So if someone is one of our show hosts, Matt, he didn't have a job. He had a long time on his resume where he didn't have a job. So I was like, okay, let's go and do an internship where you can come here and I'll teach you sales. And so I went door to door with him. I taught him everything I knew. And then it was getting towards the end of the internship. I was like, look, before I hire you, I need to see you go out by yourself, and you need to do it yourself. You just need to go in there, talk to a business. And even if you don't get a sale, because that's not the aim of it, you just have to introduce yourself. That's it. And he was gone for a while. I called him and he's like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm glad. At least we found out that this is not for you. Because I would rather you try and fail. Everyone thinks failure is a bad word. Failure is not a bad word. You got to fail forward in everything you do in life.
Yeah, I love that. Fail forward.
Let's be honest. And I don't do karate or judo or anything, but no one's a black belt from day one. You have to go from the beginning, and you will get told you're doing something wrong over and over and over again until you get it right. And even when you have it right, you might just have a bad day and get it wrong. And how many people go for, here's another example, they go for the driver's license test, and you're driving and you forget to stop at the stop sign. Like, you've done it a million times, but you just forget. Like, we are human. We're not, look, robots are coming, but we're not there yet. And I think this is the other thing, that just what we've said briefly about support. I think there's actually a bigger problem than, we're talking about accessibility here. Now, this is, I can't name the casino, but I went for a job with a casino in Melbourne. That's what I'll say. And I passed all their tests. I passed their customer service test. I passed the exams, all that kind of stuff. And then there was one test that had to pick up 20 chips in each hand. Now, I'm not flexible in my left hand, but I picked up 20 in my right, 19 chips in my left. Now, the gambling act is you can split an even pair in two. So I could have done 10-10. But the interviewer said, I can't hire you because of your left hand. Now, if he had said to me, I can't hire you because you didn't meet our task requirements, I wouldn't have had a case. But what he said, I'm a smart cookie. I went to lawyers. Lawyers then ended up doing a full medical check on me, and they literally came back with the answer, we can't hire you. Our insurance won't cover you. Here's a letter, take it to Centrelink and get disability support pension. And the quick turnaround of going from Crown, or from that place and going into Centrelink, it was such a quick turnaround. Now, for me personally, I don't want to be on disability support pension. I want to work. I want a job. Yeah. Now, not being able to be insured, that's kind of feels like a cop-out. So I have found, as a business owner, talking to insurance companies, no, I can't be insured. So there's the access of I want to work is being stopped by insurance companies, scared that if I fall over at work, I could be paralyzed, I could be injured. And I think that's like, look, I'm not going to sue you if I fall over and hurt myself. I'm not like, maybe there are people out there that would do that, but I think that's also a risk for a business owner. Am I going to hire someone that potentially could ruin my business because they injure themselves at work? I think,
so looking at that risk, that's interesting. Yeah.
So just to add to that, one of the things what's interesting is open and honest. Like, we've got a process, or something that I would like to say is like, systemize the process, personalize the exception. If you're giving someone a chance and you've got an employment agreement that states X, Y, Z, and someone is operating slightly outside of that, you might do a one-page amendment that you take the liability and the risk that we know that both parties have. Russ has a limited functionality on his left hand, for example, and we're okay with that. We agree that, hey, look, Russ also agrees that if he does this role and for whatever reason it has an injury on that side, he's okay with moving forward. You know what I mean? Like, you just document a few things that everyone goes, hey, let's not find the reason why we can't. Let's find the reason why we can. There's also something too that what's interesting, part of my team is like, we talk about being on the bus, and you may have heard this in some sort of different context, but you're on the bus, but you might be in the wrong seat. In other words, you're an amazing player, you're an amazing student, you're an amazing kind of, HR person or front of house sales, but you might then find that you're in a role that may not be supportive of your strengths. You might be stronger in a different area. So, one of the things that I've said to my students and also staff is, it's a bit of a corny kind of saying and quote, but you never judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah.
And the idea 100%. Behind that is like, don't judge them on that role. Like, try and find a way where you can put their strengths into it. And I suppose this is again where I talk about people who are autistic, or people who may have learning disabilities, or they might have physical limitations they can do. What can they do? Focus on what they can, not what they can't. But then try to make sure that we do, if you're looking at a fear factor or a liability factor, try and make sure they're in a role that their strengths can be applied, and not necessarily, baby wrap them, I suppose, or put them in a space where they might have their limitations come forward on that. So
I think the other thing is, like, if you get turned back, like, and I should just say, because I did mention the name, that casino is one of the highest employers of people with disabilities. They have a huge employment pathway program targeting to disability. I know that the lawyer that I dealt with ended up doing a very good deal with them to get them to invest in the disability employment pathways. And like, I would rather have not got a job and know today that there's people that have a job because of me not getting a job. Like, that to me is more power to the future generations. Like, I can promise, if you're disabled today and you get told no, in 10 years from now, the future generation will be told yes. Because what people learn is you can't say no to people based on their disability. You can't say no because of people based on their race. You can't say no because of people based on their sexuality. At the end of the day, you are not allowed to discriminate here in Australia based on disability, sex and gender and race, or religious beliefs even. So the fact that we have to learn this, and it's not common sense, is a question I've got to wonder, why do we have to be living this circle of, oh, you're disabled, or you're this race, or you're of this sexuality, so we can't promote you, we can't give you the opportunity, you can't. Like, I remember a day when there was no female CEOs, at least no CEOs of big companies on TV talking about their company. Now you see CEOs of female CEOs, and it's like, good on you. Like, we're changing, we're improving. Now, like, I'm sure there is a CEO out there somewhere in a wheelchair, but we just don't give them the mainstream media spotlight to showcase that. And I think that's a bigger problem of the media not doing their job to be fair and balanced, and to show equality, and to show diversity. And that is a problem, because what have we seen on our TV screens all this time? Models. We basically seen beautiful people. You watch Love Island; they're all beautiful. Where's the disabled person? Where like, and The Bachelor's another one. All beautiful people. They got all their teeth. They got muscles. They work out. All that lovely stuff. But the truth of the matter is, until the media start showing people as all people of a diverse nature, color, ethnics, disabilities, sexualities, whatever, the world's not going to change. The world's not going to change until the media wants it to change. And it is sad. Like, it is truly sad and depressing, because I don't watch free-to-air TV anymore, because I want diversity. I want to see people. You know, the best thing for diversity was YouTube. YouTube was the best thing for showing empowerment, to show a voice, to allow people to have a platform where they can be whoever they want to be. And guess what? It also created jobs for people.
Oh, yeah.
It showed you that you could be disabled, and all of a sudden you could actually get money from talking, for playing games. Yeah. So I think from technology changes the working environment of accessibility, but really, if we want change, it has to come, I think, from the mainstream media, because I think they have power. A lot of people watch them.
Yeah, so I think that one as well touches on how organizations advertise. So using social media to advertise about their jobs and what they stand for, what's their value proposition, what's their mission. So all these things that makes up the company and what they're putting out there. Because if what they're putting out there is this picture perfect, that this is who we are, this is, we don't make mistakes, we don't deal with imperfections, we are perfect. And depending on what that perfect picture looks like, and a lot of it is a picture that's very monotone, a picture that's very the same gender, the same color. It's a very boring picture that doesn't actually reflect the society. It doesn't reflect people in general. So I think it's something where, as employers, they need to be careful about how they're showcasing their business. So what are you putting forward? What are you showing on social media? How are you marketing your business? Are you marketing in such a way that someone looks at it and they go, I want to be part of that? Or are you marketing in such a way someone goes, I don't think I can fit that. That just looks too perfect for me. Or maybe that I don't see myself there, you know? So it's very important. I know, Graham, you're going to be going very soon. Do you have any last words that you want to share?
Look, I think it's great that you're opening the conversations and sharing with others and just showing about an inclusive environment. And I think it all starts with the individual, but then also what we can do is we can start to do exactly what we're doing now, have an open conversation where, you know, clearly you guys are extremely powerful within your own communities and supportive of, you know, choice and empowering others to then, you know, be that beacon of hope for many. And Rush, what you said, which is great, is it may not be the norm at the moment, but given time and given the fact that we're chatting about it and we're all willing to kind of put our hands up to support, we'll start to see those change. And I know that, you know, I've said this, I'm the king of quotes, and that's just, for me, that's what I've always loved. But it was one of Gandhi's quotes. It was like, be the change you want to see in the world. If you're sick and tired of hearing about it, make a difference and start putting your hand up and ponying up and lead by example. 100%. So, you know, that's something that we will definitely always look to do is empower others to help them know that there's so much more they can give. They just sometimes need that support, that push, that hard kind of line trainer, teacher, instructor, mentor that's going to call you on your BS and say, hey, look, you've got more to give. Stop giving yourself this, you know, oh, poor me syndrome. You know, yeah, we all have a pity party every now and then, but come on, get up, pull your big boy pants, big girl pants up and get on with it, because life's not fair. You got to make it happen. You got to make it happen. I think the more that we can be there in a supportive manner, you can obviously have that message come across as an absolute tyrant and bully, or you can do it in a way where the message is understood and it's supportive and it's abrasive when it needs to be, but then supportive on the other end as well, sir, because there's a time to challenge and there's a time to nurture, and we can still get there and make people realize that there's more that they can give. And, you know, they're one of the things that I think I'm I'm passionate on continuing to support and help. So Liz, Russ, I really do look forward to further conversations around this, and maybe next time we get a chance to come together and have a bit more of a chin wag and chat. But keep me posted on the next installments, guys. I know there's many more that you'll share, but I've got to go and empower, push, and critique some people.
Get it done.
So,
good luck, Graham.
Thank you so much, Graham.
Okay?
All right. Bye-bye. See ya. Oh, that's great. So yeah, I think what we're just pointing out around that whole thing of how impactful, what we see, the visual of what we're always exposed to, like social media and TV. It plays a role. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because I it's a shame that Graham's left, because I wanted to ask him a really good question, which was, if you ask me, what do I think of karate or judo? And I would say, well, I've never seen anyone in a wheelchair. Like, I'd never see it marketed towards people in a wheelchair. And I don't know if Graham teaches someone or Graham has seen someone in a wheelchair do it. I'm sure there is. But the norm of, because you're in a wheelchair, you can't do that. That is what comes to mind, because when I see like Karate Kid, the movie, there's no one in a wheelchair. They're all standing, kicking, fighting, all that kind of stuff. So it's really about changing the norm of, okay, well, if we're going to do an ad campaign and we're trying to target a certain community, because I think that's the thing. If you want to change something as a small business, you actually have to look at it from a point of view as, okay, how do I communicate with this group of people in a sense, in a normal but also sensitive manner? Because you don't want to make a fool of yourself and you don't want to make a fool of them. And a lot of people will judge you if you do something crazy. Like if someone had a karate shop or a karate store and had a billboard on the freeway with a person doing karate in a wheelchair, people are going to be shocked. They're going to be like, well, that can't be right. That has to be like, and I think that's the bigger thing. It's like, if I want business owners to take that risk and say, who do I want to attract to my business? Who do I want to lead in my company? What do I want the future of my business to look like? Do I want it to look like able-bodied people, or do I want it to look like a diverse community? Because I'm sorry, this is going to upset all the white people out there, but Australia is not white. Australia is a multi-racial, multi-diverse, lovely place where we are all Australians, whether you're black, white, disabled, abled, I don't care.
It's right.
Who cares? It's a label. Forget the labels. Like, we are one. And I think that's the thing. I want an Australia where we all get along.
Yes.
It is about getting along. And like, don't judge people, because like there's too much judgment, and we need to stop judging. Like, I, as a media company, should not have to start a disability radio channel to change the world. Like, I'm sorry, we're in 2022. We should have this already. Like,
and that's the thing, because it's one of those things that I always come across where people go, but why do we have to have a specific, whether it's in the company or whether it's in the policy, like, why does it have to be specific? Like, it's like, oh, do you have anything for people with disabilities in your policy? Or do you, what sort of reasonable accommodations are you going to give for people with disabilities? And I'm going, but it shouldn't be. It actually shouldn't. It should be, are you looking after your staff? Do you have reasonable accommodations, as like from the interview process to all the way onboarding? Are you actually accommodating your client, your staff in general, not specific in any sense, not specializing certain groups? No, just go, are you actually looking after? Because a lot of companies aren't. They actually aren't looking after their staff in general. So for them, it's like when you then bring all these other things that come where they go, oh, this is too much. We don't think we can actually accommodate this, or it might cost the company, or let's talk to our insurance guys first before we hire this person. It's reality.
It is.
Through that. Yeah. And it's
like this is I think the reason why we have to do this, and I'll try my best to not name people here, is there are signs at beaches that are emergency signs with numbers on. They're called bend signs. If you're in a government agency, you will know what I'm talking about. They're the green signs with a number that says if you need help, call 000. Now, I brought this to a government's attention yesterday, and I said, if I'm blind and I need Braille, that sign is useless to me. I don't know where I am. Like, I know I'm at the beach, but I don't know what part of the beach. And unfortunately, that sign that might be up to standard in your eyes or in the government's eyes, it is lacking Braille.
Yes.
So how do I, if I was blind, know where I am? Yeah. And the lady looked at me and she's like, "You're right." And I'm like going, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And she will raise it with the council, and hopefully things will change. I hope that they lead forward and lead WA to and Australia to update those signs. Because the thing is, that's why we need it. It's not necessarily because you can't get a job. It's because, unfortunately, people forget that they're blind people that need Braille.
But that's the thing, because in a way, for some reason, we've assumed that we know the next person, right? We've assumed that we're like, oh, and that's the part where I say it's so boring when you sit in a room where you all look alike.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a reflection of Australia, I'm afraid. No, that's not a reflection of the world. So it's like, why is it we are constantly in this? In 2022, we're still assuming that we know what the other person needs. Why aren't we taking the time to actually understand what it is? And not from the building code or regulation perspective, but to actually just think as a company, what do we want to portray? What's our essence? What are we hoping to have at the end of the day? And if part of those values include integrity, integration, diversity, it should show in how we work. It should show in our buildings, like you're saying with the signage. It's shocking how many signs I have come across where I'm going, like, it's unbelievable. And people don't even take into consideration. I've seen signs behind like a tree.
Yep.
I've seen signs where the background is almost the same as the text color. Like, in my head, I'm going, but do you really need me to come and consult and tell you this obvious thing? If you're looking at this, what makes you think even someone with vision can actually see this? Because I couldn't, right?
I think this is the problem. Like, okay, so for example, a tree, like, there are so many speed signs here in WA. Sorry, WA, you're getting picked on today. But I have been going at one speed, and then it changes to, let's say, 50 kilometers. And because it's behind a tree, I don't see it. So if I get pulled over or ticketed because I don't see a sign, well, that's not that. Well, yes, I should know better. It's also not my responsibility to trim the tree. Whoever's responsibility to do that is not doing their job. So I think that's number one, is like, there's some councils and authorities that just don't do their job properly. Unfortunately, there are things that have been there for a long time, and they just get overgrown. As COVID was the best thing for people, like, as much as I don't want to say COVID was the best thing for everyone, because I know COVID caused a lot of mental health and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and there was a lot of fear around COVID, and COVID in particular did hurt people that had severe disabilities because they weren't able to access their tools and techniques and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to say COVID was a blessing, but in a sense that if we look at employment and employment opportunities, I would say COVID potentially could have changed employment. For example, our building is not wheelchair accessible, which is a shame. However, what we implemented is, look, we'll come to you, or we'll tell you what hardware to get, and we will help you if we can afford it to get that hardware. We'll make it work some way. There are so many jobs that can be done at home. Like, I'm sorry, but if there's a call center business, you don't need a call center in a location anymore. You can literally do a call center anywhere. You could have people working at home. We have the technology. We have the ability. I think the question is, does everyone want a job? Does everyone want to work? Does everyone want to be employed? Or because there are those people that don't want to be employed, and that's okay. That's what you choose not to do. And then there's those people that say, I can't work for someone like myself who goes, I don't want someone bossing me around. That in itself is okay. Well, maybe that's something that I need to learn, or something that the communication is key to every success in employment. So if we have a clear communication with employment pathways and with your boss and your superiors and all that kind of stuff, you got to be friends with them. There is so many profiles and tests that you can do. There's a thing called a DISC profile.
I know. I was going to mention that actually when Graham was still here, because it really aligns with what we were talking about earlier about these different tests that can help someone align within their strengths. So not to work against them, but really find a way to put them in a job.
So the funny thing is, for me, I'm a high D. I have only D in me. And that is I think, now that I know that, that's not a bad thing, because I don't think it's a bad thing. I think what it's allowed me to do is be a bit more understanding where I need to pause, where I need to let people talk, where I need to have a bit more compassion. I'm very direct and orientated. Like, I want results. I want them now. I don't want to have to wait. So for me, it's about me getting to there. But I'm also a perfectionist. I like things perfect. Trust me, life is not perfect. So forget it.
I know. So it is like that, where we have to look at how we are interviewing people. We have to look at what's our onboarding process like. How are we making sure that we're aligning, instead of just giving a job description like, this is it, this is all that you gotta do, done. Actually having more of an evolving job description, or having a flexible job description, where actually certain things that maybe when in this role can be moved to another person because they do it so well. So it's just accommodating based on the strengths of the person. So
I think that's the risk as well. Like, and I say that from the point of view as, we have here in Australia a problem at the moment that the federal government needs to fix, and I've been advocating for this for a very long time, is that we have a job wage subsidy program, where basically if someone can only do 20% of the capacity of the work, they can be paid only 20% of the actual wage. So for example, instead of $21, you might get paid $4. And that fundamentally sits wrong with me. I'm not saying that to those businesses that are doing it, that they shouldn't be doing it. I think that we need to think of a better way to do things. You said it perfectly just then. If a person can do, let's say, a spreadsheet documents very well, but they're not very good at customer service, then get all your spreadsheets done by them. Yeah, that's their job. Pay them properly. Let them do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's issue number one. We need to have jobs that align with the person's skills and strengths. We need to stop thinking about, here is a job. I need you to ring people. I need you to mail things. I need you to pack things. I need you to write 100 words a minute on Microsoft. I need you to be a note taker. I need you to be a public speaker. I need you to be whatever. I'm sorry, not everyone can do that.
I know. And you know the funny thing about it, because I love when you mentioned about DISC, because a lot of these roles, right, the responsibilities, a lot of them actually clash. So if you actually assess someone based on their strengths, you'll find some of these things that you've put in there actually shouldn't be for that job role. They should be sitting in another different job role. But you wouldn't get to know it if you're just copying and pasting a description and then just telling someone to go, yeah, this is your job, get it done.
It's really interesting because, like, I'm not a people's person. I'm getting better at being a people person, I guess, but I'm not someone that's going to talk to you about your dog. Actually, I mostly will. But I'm not going to talk to you about your kids or what you did on the weekend. That doesn't interest me. I'm going to talk to you about business. I'm going to talk to you, like, if you have an intellectual conversation about disability, of course I'm going to talk about disability. If you try to have it's just who I am. So, but then you look at Jason, my business partner, and he's a people person. He likes to make people laugh. He likes to have fun. He likes to be silly. And that's to him down to a T. He's a great person for even our team. I say to Jason, you manage our team. Let me do the day-to-day running because that's my skill and that's my strength.
Yeah.
I think I'm good at it.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to raise another issue with accessibility. And again, this comes down to people with disabilities, particularly when they get disability support pension, they can work up to a certain threshold. I think it's about $180 a fortnight or something like that. But then they get penalised for working.
Well, I know. When I heard that, I thought,
I'm not saying they shouldn't get penalised or anything like that. But what I think is we need to actually change this. We need to actually think about it from this perspective. I can be on Youth Start Allowance or youth studies or whatever it's called, and I can get a job. Then I can lose that job and get back on the program. I can do that as much as I want, up and down, up and down. But if I'm on disability support pension and I get a job and I'm at that job for 12 months, then my pension stops. Then I can't get the pension for 2 years. I'm sorry, but that's a joke. We don't want to create people staying on a system like the pension for the rest of their life if they can work. I 100% agree with that. But we need to put in a system where we can say, okay, you've lost your job for a reasonable reason. Let's say the company went belly up. Let's say they filed bankruptcy. Guess what? Why penalize the person that did the right thing by getting the job? Let them back on their pension and let them look for another job.
Yeah.
Like don't penalize a person for doing what many taxpayers would like people on Centrelink to do, which is get a job.
Yes.
And I say this from the point of view as until we fix this problem, unfortunately, there are going to be a level of people with disability that are scared to get a job, that are scared to go out there, that are scared to actually say, I want the support to get a job. I actually want to stand on my own 2 feet. I want to be independent as much as I can because having a job does so much for your wellness and your mental health.
Yeah.
It does amazing for your self-esteem. It makes you feel part of a community. It makes you make friends. It helps you make friends. It helps you succeed. It helps you buy a house. It helps you buy a car. It helps you go on holidays.
It has a lot of socioeconomic,
and I think, why are we putting almost like brick walls in front of people and saying, sorry, until you get the bulldozer, they ain't coming down.
Yeah.
And it's like, where is the bulldozer? Where do I have to find it to actually get change to happen? Yeah. And I think that's the problem. And the government's not going to like me tomorrow for saying this, but I don't care because it's true.
Truth. Like, it honestly, it's the truth at the end of the day. And I've seen it all the time where someone goes, oh, I'm not getting a job. And even though you're thinking, but yesterday you were so enthusiastic about getting a job, what changed? And then they go, oh, I went to Centrelink. And I'm like, okay. And they go, yeah, I know I was told that if I get a job, everything stops. And I'm going, oh my gosh.
Yep.
So how are we even empowering people to get a job if you're telling them that all the other support system that they have financially stops?
Yep.
Like, how are we empowering? We are in a way then just saying you're better off staying on the dole. You're better off staying within the system. We would look after you. Don't worry about everything else. But the looking after part, you are not, because one, this person is going to be dependent. This person is going to have low self-esteem. This person is going to be isolated because they're not going out. They're not doing what they feel they should be doing in case they might lose their finances from Centrelink. Like, it's insane. It's insane how it brings fear to people.
And I hate to say it, but we've invited politicians to come and do interviews. We've even invited the NDIS minister himself to come and do interviews. He's always busy. He doesn't want to come and do an interview, it sounds like, to us. We even asked Mark McGowan to come and do an interview with us, and his nicest letter that I've ever received from a politician was, "I'm too busy." And I'm like going, you're too busy to have a conversation about disability employment or about what the government is doing to help people get jobs in WA. The problem with WA in particular, and sorry, Twiggy, you're a great man, but the mining companies run this state, and they do a great job, a great job of employing people. And I know that there's some great Woodside, Rio Tinto, even Twiggy Forest does hire people with disabilities, but we need them to show medium-sized businesses, smaller businesses, that it's okay to hire people with disabilities. We need to, like, I watched one of the, I can't remember what mining company it was, but I watched this TV commercial for this mining company, and I know that this company hires people in wheelchairs, but there was not one person. I go back to wheelchair because that's the obvious disability. That is where that is the most key obvious disability. That if I saw that on TV, I'll be like, wow. And it's not wow as in sarcasm. It's wow as in cool. That's a company I want to work with. And this ad didn't have that. This ad didn't have the gotcha moment. It had a lot of male, females of all age groups, of all races, which was fantastic. But it was like, and I look, I don't know why they do that. Like, they sponsor, one of the things I've noticed here in WA in particular is we've got disability sports. So we've got wheelchair basketball, we've got wheelchair rugby, we've got wheelchair hockey, and there's a lot of key disability sports. And I don't see big names advertising or sponsoring them. Yeah. I don't see sponsors lining up for them. Sponsors will line up for your little league cricket club or your little league football club, but they forget that there's people that, did you know a wheelchair for wheelchair basketball costs $60,000?
Oh yeah.
Now, like, that's chump change for a large business. Why not just donate it? It breaks my heart, the fact that we are a nation that has lots of resources. We're digging up this resource and we're using it, but we're not helping the people that are stuck on the lower social economics, who are disabled, who are of ethnic background, even, who are refugees, all that kind of stuff. We're not actually helping them, lift them up. And I think that's like, I get there's that side of politics that say it's not our problem, but it is our problem. Every single Australian taxpayer, I just think, where is your tax going to, and who is it helping and who is it not helping? And why not hire people that need a job?
Yeah, I've had someone go, oh, actually, our money is going to NDIS, right? And I've had to tell someone to say, actually, do you know, not every person living with a disability is on NDIS. I think sometimes people forget that. And people just go, yeah, but there's a lot of money going to NDIS, and we're not happy with it. We're not happy with how it's being used. We're not happy with how it's all happening. And I go, actually, but you don't realize that there are other people, whether they have a disability or not, there are other people that are really struggling because of how the system is set up, because of all these 1, 2, 3 issues. And it's not fair to say, well, they have NDIS. It's not right, because not everybody's on NDIS. And for those that actually are, they'll tell you that it's not enough. They'll tell
I think the problem, I had this conversation in a meeting this morning, and I because we were talking about the economics of Australia. I'm no economist, I'm no accountant. I want to just state that right now, but I don't see how we can afford all of this spending that we're doing. I'm not saying that the NDIS is bad. I think the NDIS is good. I think it can help a lot of people, but where is this money coming from? Where is this money getting generated? Where is this money? How is this money being used? There, unfortunately, Bill Shorten has pointed this out. There is a lot of fraud and a lot of, and I don't think it's a lot, actually. I think it's a little bit. I think that there's just a key politician saying, oh, look, here's a nice thing that we can say to our taxpayers. But the truth of the matter is, why aren't we showing the good that the NDIS is doing? Why aren't we showing that, look, that person that couldn't get around before now has the ability to get transportation? Why aren't we showing there are people that are paralyzed because of a car crash and their house was not up to standard to live in? The NDIS helps to get your house upgraded and does a lot of good that Australians should be very proud of. Australians that pay taxes should be really proud of what Australia is doing.
And there is within NDIS as well, there is the finding and keeping a job. So as part of supporting employment, right, as part of getting people to find the right job for themselves, they do have a package that's dedicated to help someone who is looking at getting a job and finding it. So you get an assessment and you get someone to help you do your resume, help you to find the job. So it's something within the NDIS that actually is helping people towards achieving a goal if they have one. So so it's in a way, it's like NDIS in its own right is doing what it stands for. I mean, it's not perfect, but what it stands for and what it's trying to achieve is also towards integration for people who want to work, for people who want to achieve certain things that they were not able to with the system before. So it's then saying, well, it's doing its role. It might not be doing it perfectly, but it's doing it. But on the other side, what are we also then doing as business owners, as employers, to facilitate that? Because it's one thing to have a system set up that can encourage this, but if then people are met with it then just makes it harder for someone to come and get a job if you haven't set up your organization or company to promote that, to actually then integrate, to make sure that someone comes and they're able to keep and maintain their job. So it's crucial that we point that out in terms of what we do as well as employers.
It's interesting you talk about NDIS, and I remember when it first launched, I went into a Geelong office. I sat down with a lovely lady, and she turned around to me and said, "You're not disabled enough. This is not for you. This is for people that are disabled." And I'm going, "What?"
Oh, trust me. That's what I'm saying.
But saying that though, I'm glad I don't have NDIS. I'm not, because I don't need it. Like, I don't know what NDIS could have given me that would have helped me get a job, because it goes back to what I said before. If I get disability support pension, for example, and then try to get a job, that doesn't make sense on the current model. So we can't, look, there are people out there who are severely disabled who might be able to only do an hour worth of work or 2 hours worth of work. I think that is what the NDIS job platform is for. So I don't want to confuse it between a DES provider versus what they most probably do a little bit differently. It's also about how, for example, if you were volunteering in an op shop, you might be able to access some of your NDIS for a support staff member to actually help you. It could just be as simple as, let's say you can't do buttons up or something. So there, I think from an NDIS perspective, the job package is a good package to have, and it should be promoted as best as it can. I think the thing that we need to do is think about all those people that aren't on the NDIS that want a job or want an opportunity to work. How do we set them up for success? Yes. I'll tell you a quick story. I've been with job providers. I've been with job providers ever since I was 16. I've been in and out of work. When I've had no work, I've been with job providers. I've been with all of them. I don't think there's one I haven't been with. And they get paid to have me on their books. They get paid to keep me on their books. Yes, I get it. They get a bonus if they get me a job. But that job only lasts 6 months. Why? Because the business got paid $5,000 or whatever. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
That, Grant.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing for a small business, because it does help you and it does let you take a risk if you're worried about taking that. And I think businesses should be using it. But I think it shouldn't be, here's $5,000 if you keep them for 6 months. It should be, we're going to pay half of their salary for 6 months, but the proviso is that unless they do something wrong, you're not allowed to let them go. Yeah. So at that 6 months, the business should not be getting a cash bonus for giving someone a job. The business should be supported in wage subsidy if they need it. And it should be, and they should be an if. It should be an if they need it, not a here's some money for you. And I know that from a business owner, that would break my heart if they did that. However, from a disabled person's point of view, that would be awesome if they did that. So it's a double-edged sword. I get it. So, but the truth of the matter is, there's two sides to every conversation. And one of the beautiful things about being a person that's a business person and a person that's also disabled is I've got to think about both sides. Yes. At the end of the day, I started this business because I want to give people who don't have a voice. I want to give people who don't have an opportunity to do something, I want to give them the choice to succeed. Now, I have hit hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. I've had people look at me and judge me because of my left hand. I've had people write rumors about me. I've had people do all horrible stuff about me. And guess what? I'm still standing today. I'm thicker, I'm bigger, I'm stronger than that. And the truth of the matter is, you can quit if you want to, but it takes a survivor and a fighter to survive and to keep going. Yes. The truth of the matter, like, I love my life today. Yeah. I'm not making a lot of money. Actually, I make $0, but I love what I do. And I think if you love what you do, then you keep going at it. Yeah. Like one day we will have big offices and all that kind of stuff, but we got to start somewhere. So if you're that disabled person watching this tonight or today, whenever you're watching this, and you're sitting at home thinking the world owes you something, I want you to think, what can I do for the world? What do I have that I can give the world? What can I change in the world? Yeah. We need to stop blaming people. We need to stop blaming that the world's too hard and I can't get a job because of this. I feel sorry about this. Guess what? Life is not fair. Life is not easy. Life is not a bottle of rainbow-colored sugar, fruity, lovely candies. Yeah. Life is tough, and it takes all your might to get up, put a smile on, and walk out the front door. Yeah, you got to, like, if we survived COVID, we can all survive everything. And the thing is, we also need to think about we as a world. I'm going to talk globally here because I love your background. You had the word global in it. Yeah. And the thing is, if one part of this world, for example, becomes inhabitable, let's say a nuclear bomb goes off, that affects not just that one part. It affects the whole globe. Yes. It affects for example, if our oxygen stopped tomorrow, it's not just Australia's oxygen. It's United States, it's Kenya's, it's South Africa's, it's Russia's, it's Ukraine's, it's New Zealand's, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Oxygen will be gone. There's no, so the thing is, I'm not a lefty, I'm not a righty. I'm going to stay there as it is. If we don't look after each other, there's going to be no one to look after.
Exactly.
We're gonna be like Mars. It's a planet that's inhabitable. So I think that's, we can only do what we can do as individuals. Yeah. We're not perfect. We can't change the world. We can't. I would love to be able to change the world. I would love to be able to say to people,
I'm trying to change. I'm changing the world.
No, I mean it for this time. I mean, but that's the thing. In an ideal world, every person that wants a job would have a job.
Yes.
But it's not an ideal world.
Yeah.
It is dog eat dog. And sometimes the bigger dog eats a smaller dog.
Yeah, it is a harsh world. Yeah.
It's a really sad world.
Yeah.
So how do we make it better? If you are someone that's not employed at the moment and you have a business idea, doesn't matter how small it is, it could be making a phone case, it could be making cakes, it could be writing stories, it could be
it is.
whatever. Start up a business. Go register with the
That's
tax
what I was
man
going
and
to
get an
say.
ABN.
I'm like, if we ever learned anything from COVID, right, is start your damn business. Like, don't wait for anyone to tell you to come to work. Why are you waiting? Start something. And if you then feel like you need to, then you can do that. But start something for yourself.
Yeah.
So it's in a way creating a job, but where you feel more empowered because you started it.
Yeah.
You started it, and it's your own thing that you're going to build and mold, and you're going to grow into it. It's beautiful.
And don't quit. That's the other thing. I've been in business for 3 years. I can tell you this is the third radio station that we've started, and it's the one that's succeeding. It is the one that is actually making a difference. And
I love what you said about failing forward.
Yes.
Failing forward. I love that. I'm gonna get that from you.
You need to, like, okay. If you make a mistake in business, it's okay. It can be fixed. There's some brilliant accountants and business people. There's business coaches. There's people that will mentor you. There's like if someone that was starting their business came to me and said, Russell, how do I market my business? I'll be like, okay, let's have a chat. A chat doesn't cost you anything. No. A chat's free. If I like your idea, of course I'm going to tell people about it. Of course I'm going to support you. The thing is, even if your idea is a dumb idea, there's someone out there that's going to buy it.
Of course. Then there's nothing like a dumb idea. Like
no.
Dumb ideas, and we look at it. But
like, for example, I was just thinking like a strange business, a sock folding.
Yes.
To help people that don't like to fold socks, you're going to fold their socks for them. Okay? Sounds silly. It really does. But there are people that would buy that service. Like, I'm sorry, but
a lot of these businesses, when you really think about it, it started from a very silly, stupid idea where someone's like, I can make a business out of this. Let me just try. Let's see how it goes. And people bought into it because people resonated with it. They're like, oh yeah, that's a problem for us. Come and do it. So it's creating jobs, but at the same time, just taking that ownership and feeling that empowerment to go, I can do it, and it's within my control. I have people around me to support me through this. So as we are wrapping up, I think we did such a great job just dissecting, because sometimes, like I initially said, accessibility, it's not about the physical environment only. It's not about the websites or the digital platform. It's just really looking at how can we make the quality of accessing something, so the quality of ease to use something, how can we make that? And in this case, we're talking about workplace, we're talking about employment. How can we make it easier for different individuals to access employment? And what are the barriers that are causing people to not get a job if they want one, or to start a business? So just key takeaways from this. I love the failing forward. I think that's amazing, because people forget that when you fail, you still get up.
Yeah.
Like you're still going to get up. Like that's life. And I love the fact that we talked about accepting support, that it's not about doing everything all by yourself and go like, I want to prove to them that I can do it. No, it's not about that. It's accepting where you need the support, because we're human at the end of the day. And also about the risks associated with getting a job, where someone with the employer might be concerned that, what about the insurance? What about the risks that comes with maybe employing someone? And thinking really about why is that a big factor? Because it does come into play. And then looking at the social media, so advertising, how are we advertising our companies? How are we advertising what we do? It plays a role, because if someone cannot associate or identify themselves with an advert, they're not going to come and work for you, and they don't think they can apply for a job there. So it's really looking at all these different areas that affect, and as well as the physical environment. We talked about signage is a big factor. It's all those things. You mentioned your building not being wheelchair accessible. We have quite a huge amount of buildings that are old, right? Yeah. And what do we do? You know, we have these buildings. What do we do? And what, like we said, COVID played a really big role, because then people started thinking outside the box. Instead of thinking work was at a building out there, people started thinking, oh, I can work from home, or I can work from another country, or I don't have to actually go to a building. You know, it changed a lot of things. So with that, what can we learn post-COVID? I mean, we still have COVID, but what can we learn from that can be transferred into our policies and processes?
I just want to quickly say something as well, because I know personally I'll be taking some time off work when I go for a surgery to fix my skull, because unfortunately I have an infection in there that's eaten away my skull. To people that are going to business owners who are scared to hire people with disability, just think that, how scared are they going to be having to come to you and tell you, for example, me, I have to take time off because I don't know when, but the doctor wants to operate on me. Yeah. Now, we don't want your pity. We just want to know that our job's going to be there when we get back. If it goes well, and for example, I don't want you to have to hire me back if I'm a vegetable, because let's be honest, that's not going to help your business. Yeah. But if I'm stable, able to do it, and I'm just like I am today after the operation, then why can't I have my job back? Because I think that's the thing. Like I think that the world has changed to the point now where we understand that people need time off work. It's very much like we give dads and mums now some time off work when they have a kid. Dads don't get as much time off as mums, but that's okay.
They've increased it a little bit.
They've increased it, yes. And I think that's the thing. We just need to, like, I get that it's not fair that the boss is paying for my wage while I'm away and someone else's wage as well. I get that. I wish we could solve that problem too. The quick, easy answer is government assistance, but it's not a long-term solution. So I think, I know that there's businesses out there, and I know a lot of businesses that I have talked to don't want to hire disabled people. And I laughed at one of them because they're dating someone that's disabled. And I said to them, so you won't hire anyone disabled, but you'll date someone disabled. It's a bit like weird, isn't it? And the person was like, yeah, but I love that person. And I'm like going, doesn't matter. That person's no different to someone else trying to get a job.
Yeah.
Like, holy goodness, if you can love someone that's disabled, then guess what? You can give a job to someone that's disabled.
Exactly. That's it.
Elizabeth,
So,
I want to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
What would you if you could change one thing in this world tomorrow? What would it be?
So I'm a big believer in how we plan and design, right? So I'm a big believer in that. So I'm always talking about Ubuntu. I think I did mention it to you one time. And that whole oneness. So that whole thing about I cannot identify myself without you, right? So in order for me to say, this is Liz, I'm differentiating. I'm able to identify because I'm like, I can identify this as opposed to that. But if I was just here as Liz in my hole, in my big hole, where nothingness is like, there's nothing there, it's just me, I'm not a human being. I can't identify as such. So what I think we need to change really is how we view one another. Is what if I am saying I am superior to you, what does that mean? You know, because without you, I can't identify me.
Yeah.
So who is superior?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I use the I said it earlier. If we all breathe the same air, we all breathe the same water. We all breathe the same air. We all drink the same water. We all eat the same food.
Yeah.
If that's all gone, then none of us live.
We're all done. So I would want to bring back that sense of who I am as part of a community, who I am as part of something bigger than me. So if I'm part of an organization, if I'm part of a company, I'm part of the vision. I'm not just there because they need someone for the job. Yeah. I'm actually there to make a difference in that company. So it then comes back down to how the company was set up, the foundation of the company. How were you, when you were putting the foundation, when you're putting the sticks around to go, okay, this is the structure of the system, how it's going to be held up, it comes back down to that. So I would say to organizations, to companies, go back to your foundation, find what it is, which stick or which brick that you didn't put in, that's now disallowing you to hire someone who needs a job at your place. Yeah.
I can honestly tell you that I think that everyone should listen to this and watch this because look, everyone in this world wants to wake up tomorrow, wants to have a good day. They want love, they want respect, they want trust, they want to succeed.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just think that this world's a little bit, we like to bully people. I see it all the time online. We don't like to have a conversation. We like to attack people. And I think it's time that we actually, these conversations are fantastic. And I can't wait for more of them because I think we need to have these conversations in an open forum where people can ask questions. Like, I honestly would if I wasn't doing this business, I would be in bed crying or I'd be in bed with saying, poor me. I get up every single day and it's literally because of my GP who said, what do you want to achieve in your life? Because I see you and you're not doing anything. And I was like, I want to be happy. And he's like, well, I can give you a pill to do that, or you could go and do something. And I was like, well, I don't really want the medication. What do I do? And he's like, go and start a business. He was actually the one who said, go and do it. So look, just take a leap. Like, so honestly, I wake up every day now and I smile. Yes, sometimes it's really early in the morning, but I smile and I look forward to coming and unlocking that door.
Yeah.
That like to get joy, to unlock a door, that's like it's not about anything else. If I can inspire someone, or if they can inspire the rest of the world, That's what I want.
That's exactly. And you've done your job. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was amazing. I really enjoyed this. And I'm sure we're going to have more interesting conversations. But as you've had it, it's a topic that I think as we keep having these conversations, they're going to change, like you're saying, and not today, 10 years from now, it's a yes. And people will not actually understand why it was a no to begin with, because people are making those changes every day. We are taking time to actually consider these changes. I'm just going to read a comment. Russell, you're great, is admirable, and you're inspiring. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I can agree to that as well. So thank you so much for coming and joining me on this platform. And hope to do more of this together.
Oh, absolutely. You can have me anytime. You know that.
Thank you so much, Russell. And thank you, Cheska, for listening in. And we hope everybody that's going to listen at some point, they can take some nuggets from this conversation, because I think there are quite a few of them. And it's all helpful stuff for whether you're a business owner or someone who's interested in how they can improve the working conditions of their organization. So, awesome.
Can we just because I know we didn't do this at the beginning, so we should also do this. Graham's business. What's Graham's business, and how can people find out Graham's business?
Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. I know he should have at least given a bit of info, but what we're going to do is, as part of it in the description box, we're also going to list each and every one of us, their job roles and their businesses, because we're all business owners, and what we do and how you guys can reach us, so that at least that way there is an ongoing conversation even past this recording. So I'll put it in the description box, and looking forward to having more conversations. All right. Thank you, Russell, and looking forward to more of this.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right.